Segosewogwego, Yernienta Nyungyats, Ganyakihaga, Nola Nei, Agenistoha, Dahnulagahniha, Ne Hazel Hill Rosette, and Greg Harris. Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yernienta, which means she tries. My English name is Christina Hill Harris. I am of the Upper Mohawk Turtle Clan. My parents are Hazel Hill Rosette and Greg Harris. I'm here to speak to you today as an ambassador of the Indian Defense League of America. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Jamison and the Canandaigua Treaty Committee, as well as the chiefs, because I myself have a great respect for the committee and everybody involved for keeping this commemoration alive for so many years. I would also like to thank the Canandaigua community for allowing this event to occur every year, as well as the politicians and the Ongwehongwe people assembled. As I said before, I'm here as an ambassador of the IDLA. The IDLA was formed for many reasons. One of those reasons being that the USA and Canadian borders were making it extremely hard for Ongwehongwe people to cross. The IDLA stood behind the Jay Treaty of 1794, as well as the Treaty of Ghent of 1814, stating that Ongwehongwe people have the right to cross the border freely. It was stated that any person that could not speak or write English was seen as an undesirable, and they were not welcome to pass freely through the border. They did not see us as a sovereign nation. In response to these circumstances, the Haudenosaunee people nominated Levi General, or Diskahe, a hereditary chief of 6 nations, as our spokesperson. He argued that the Haudenosaunee people had many treaties with the USA and Great Britain, and since Canada had become a dominion in 1867, it took on the responsibility of all the treaties made by Great Britain, stating that in all good faith, there should not be a problem with Haudenosaunee people to cross the border. Diskahe took his argument to the World Court in Switzerland, but to no avail. Diskahe returned to the home of Chief Clinton Rickard on the Tuscarora Reserve in New York without support from Switzerland, whereupon he became very ill and his medicine people were allowed to cross the border and heal him, and he recovered. He remained at Chief Clinton Rickard's as a result of being denied re-entry to Canada and became very ill. He called for his medicine people once more, but they were denied entry to the States. Consequently, he passed away, some say of a broken heart, and only then his body was allowed to be returned to 6 nations. On his deathbed, Diskahe said to Chief Clinton Rickard to fight for the line, and for the other chiefs, do not let your horns get tangled up in the line. Chief Rickard took it upon himself to fight for the line. After many years of trials and tribulations, Chief Rickard achieved his goal by allowing all Ongwehongwe people to cross the border freely all over North America. To acknowledge this, the IDLA has an annual border crossing celebration, which started in July of 1928, thus making the IDLA the oldest Indian rights movement heading into our 84th year. Currently, the IDLA committee has dealt with many border crossing issues, and since 9/11, the pressure has been on, but by both the U.S. and by both the United States and Canada, to have Indians declared as either American or Canadian citizens. But we as Ongwehongwe people will never allow this to happen. Giving up our identity as those who came first would be an insult to our ancestors as well as the 7 generations ahead. Nyawagoa. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm going to summarize a few of the things that are going to happen. We always go over here to my right and we acknowledge this white pine that was planted here many years ago. When you walk back, if you want to stop at the Ontario County Historical Society, which is on this side of the street, you will see a copy of the Canandaigua Treaty that was actually written on the November 11, 1794. This is a photocopy of the one that is held in the National Archives in Washington, D.C. A very faithful one to the size of that copy that is there in the National Archives. Doug Fisher and his family were successful in getting the archives to release that to us so that we have this with us here to look at. You can see that a piece of parchment was sewn to the top with George Washington's name and a piece of parchment sewn to the bottom I should say at the bottom is George Washington's signature. At the top is what is this treaty about, or who formed this treaty. You'll see that mentioned. In fact, because it is so chilly, I want to say to you that I really thank you for sticking around. We're going to have a meal when we go back to the building there this evening. Robert Porter will be our featured guest speaker. We'll also have social dancing following that in the gymnasium there at the elementary school. I'm going to call on Jamie, who opened up here, to offer a few last closing remarks, and so I'll ask him to come forward now.
So I guess we're getting kind of ready to wrap it up because I'm getting hungry and cold. But I guess one of the things that we have to say is, and remember, is that Treaty Day is every day, not just on November 11th. And it will be every day from now until the last Hongwe Hongwe, which is probably going to be for a long time. So, because to us, that's why our ancestors made these things, these wampum belts, was so that they said, this is the way it's going to be for our grandchildren. And that's the reason they fought so hard, was for future generations. Because in our language they say, it's like the faces are coming in out of the earth. So they kept that in mind, and that was their motivation behind their hard work, was for their grandchildren, which is us today. So another thing that we have to that we always kind of like to remind people of is the difference when you say Seneca Nation, because there's two governments of Seneca Nation. There's the elected council of the Seneca Nation of Indians, but there's also the Chiefs Council of the Seneca Nation. Because in the early 1800s, the other group decided to take up the elective system. But the ancestors at Tonawanda, they took the horns off the wall and they reinstalled them, because they said that it was too important to let those go, because they said the antlers any John Duck Patigowanis don't eat again, don't eat yakum. Kaya dagi hase awondo putadangwi tanyani. Because they said the Creator decided that they were going to exist. These big men, these chiefs, because he said that would be the help towards the people. That they'll be the ones to surround their people, to protect them. That they'll work hard so that their people are kept content. Don't these jog and these jog the Kayi with the Jokonostar. Adi hair, Dadi no, the only Toya again. And that they'll try hard to keep their people from taking up too many of the white man's way of doing things. But they work together. That's what they decided at that time. That even though they separated themselves, they said that they'll work together. So we're working hard to do that. To work together as two separate governments, but yet at the same level. Because that's also what the Creator had said. That all the trees would be level. And He did that for a reason. So equality, you heard that word today. Well, that comes from the Creator. It didn't come from female, or it didn't come from blacks, whites, reds. It came from the Creator. Equality. So now I guess those are our closing words to remember that. So another thing that our ancestor did was they made this this chain. And the first ancestors, what they first made it out of was rope. But they realized that at some point in time the rope becomes rotted. So they had to change it. They said they'll change it to an iron chain. But iron rust and it decays away. So Canandaigua, George Washington said, we're going to change it to a silver chain. And he says that every 4 years, or every year they elect a new leader, it'll be up to that leader to repolish the chain. I guess in English, I guess what you're picturing is just cleaning this chain. But that's not really what it means. What it really means is that they come together and share understanding. Share understanding of knowledge, the way we live, the way we believe, vice versa, and to have respect for that. So really, that's what it boils down to, polishing the chain, the covenant chain. What it really means is respect. So today, when we remember this treaty they made, that's kind of what we're doing, is having respect for each other and understanding that we have different ways of living and believing. So that's what polishing the chain really means. Wase so wado. Anong set ni na anong this what the swada di ka ni kwete ya do te on we. I just said red man, but I probably shouldn't have said that. So that's what we do here. So another thing our ancestors did was they planted this tree. And it was a white pine tree. Canandaigua is what they called it. It's these long dark leaves. So what they said was, so another thing, they did more than just plant a tree. They didn't just walk out to the yard and plant a tree and said this is going to represent something. That meant a lot more. So what they did was they said this tree and the roots that grow into the ground is a representation of how we live. Because that's where the Creator had planted, that's where the Creator had made us. So there he grafts this soil and he made these two people. And Slino steak, Nina, was it, they'll do down J shake or in Donwa. So he said it'll be up to you, because new ones will always be coming from there. So just like a tree, you plant a seed into the ground, it grows, and then it plants its own seed to make new ones. Because that's the way the Creator had made it, this circle of life. So it's not just a planted tree, and it doesn't just represent peace, but it represents that circle. So now we'll go up and we'll show our respect to that symbol, and this tree, this white pine tree. So we'll offer words of encouragement, help, and thankfulness. And then in our ways too, we offer tobacco. So we'll do that now. And then we'll head back to the school for everybody to warm up and get a full belly. Done.